This morning, we have Arjuna Mahendran, Head of Investment Strategy at HSBC Private Bank, joining us from Singapore. Arjuna, good Monday to you. First off, let's talk about those hugely disappointing non-farm payrolls numbers on Friday, coming in just about a third of expectations. And some are talking about double dip once again. How are you reading things?
Well, I think it wasn't all that much of a surprise, Susan, after we'd seen some of the leading indices like the ISM numbers, etc., coming off so rapidly in the last couple of months. And you also remember that GDP growth in the first quarter in the United States was running at about 1.8%, which is way below where it would have been in a normal recovery cycle. So I think it wasn't a surprise to us. We were anticipating a pretty dreadful number, though it did turn out worse than we expected. I mean, looking forward, I guess, it's going to be a fairly quiet summer, given these numbers. And I think what's really driving all this is the fact that public sector spending in the United States, the government spending, particularly at the state level and perhaps at the municipality level, is running below average speed because a lot of these states like California just don't have the ability to borrow money. So I think this is creating a drag for the overall economy.
That's right. You have politics at play as well. They still need to raise the debt ceiling. In fact, they may even default if that August 2nd deadline isn't met. So what do? Are you advising investors to take cash off the table?
Well, we've been fairly cautious for the last couple of months, so we've already made that call. And I think going into the summer, I would start looking around for bargains because I think, we have another few weeks of a potential sell-off. I'm not looking at a capitulation or anything quite drastic, but certainly a sort of gradual sell-off. And, this is a good time to start hunting for bargains in terms of value, because I think that after the summer, perhaps early autumn or so, we'll see some silver lining emerging. I think earnings should continue to be robust. As you know, the last earnings season continued to be very strong for companies around the United States and, in fact, globally. And secondly, I think some of this inflationary fears in China will start abating by then. So the Chinese could perhaps start lending more money.
Okay, so when are we going to see the pickup then for this year? Is it closer to the end of this year? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, I mean, how I see this, Susan, is it's what I call a lesser form of a boom. We are not going to see the sort of exuberance that we've seen for the last 2 years of the recovery cycle going forward. I think policymakers in particular are going to be much more concerned about keeping everything in its place. So you'll have a gradual improvement in the environment, but nobody's going to let, say, the property sector in Hong Kong or anything just go completely out of kilter. I think the regulators are going to sort of spoil the party in that respect. So what I'm seeing is a gradual improvement from the late autumn going into next year. And a lot of that improvement, I think, is going to be focused on the emerging markets, which still have the cash to spend.
Okay, well, let me talk to you about the defensive plays. It seems like everyone's calling defensive equities for the time being until you see this a better re-entry point. Isn't that kind of a crowded, I guess, stock trade then in that case?
It's a very crowded trade right now, Susan. We've been buying defensives for the last couple of months, as I said. And I think, now we've come to the end of that trade. In fact, I'll start looking at growth sectors in a month's time, because I think you're finally seeing some value emerging, if such is possible, in terms of the actual price earnings multiples, etc. in the growth sectors.
Where are the growth plays? Tell me, talk about sectors. Be specific here.
Okay, China banks. I also like commodity plays in the broadest sense, and of course precious metals related mining companies, etc.
Okay, Arjuna, nice to see you on this Monday. Thanks again for joining us. Arjuna Mahendran of HSBC Private Bank joining us from Singapore.